Okay, let's go from simple to advanced grammar again. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible for you guys. It's called past perfect continuous. It is advanced grammar, but we're going to look at a simple way of saying this with the same meaning, but not actually using the grammar, and then we'll switch it to past perfect continuous, the advanced grammar. So let's take a look. First, let's look at the simple version. So I put it into two sentences because it's necessary. It reads like this. I was doing research for almost 10 hours. Okay. Then suddenly my computer crashed. This is very easy to understand. I was doing something for a period of time. Then something happened to stop me. Very clear. Now I'm going to put this on a timeline just to make sure everyone understands it. So let's put it on a timeline. There are three references here that we need to consider. One of them is something started doing something. So that would be the research part here. Then something happened after that to stop that. And that would be the computer crashing. And of course, we're speaking now. So that would be the reference of now. Talking about the past. Everything's in the past, right? The only other thing that we need to consider is the 10 hours here. And that's a duration of time. So from the time I started here to the time the computer crashed here, we could call this whole thing 10 hours, right? That is the duration of time. So basically, we need to know a couple of things. One, we started doing something in the past. Then something else happened in the past to stop that. That duration of time is also very important. And we're speaking now about it. So we're going to take all of this information and put it into one beautiful sentence. It would read something like, I'd been doing research for almost 10 hours when suddenly my computer crashed. I'd been doing research for almost 10 hours when suddenly my computer crashed. Same information, right? So again, I have that doing research part here. I also have the 10-hour duration here. And I have the computer crashing, so the action that stopped my research here. So I have everything, and I'm speaking now about the past. Basically, it's the same information put together in one beautiful sentence. It's called past perfect continuous. Take a look at the form, and you'll easily be able to construct these sentences. So the form is pretty much had, and yes, it's always had. Then you have to put your been. Then you have your verb ing, whatever that may be. You have to put for and a period of time, or else there's no sense in using this grammar. Then you would probably bring when or before or by the time to introduce that other action, which is with the simple past, that stopped your first action. So you were doing something for a certain amount of time, and then something happened to stop you. Basically, you put all that information together and you have like this, the sentence like this. I had been doing something for a period of time when something happened that stopped me. That's pretty much the whole grammar, right? Now, I just want to show you a couple of other examples so that you're not limiting yourself. It's the same grammar, just maybe in a different way, but it's the same thing. Take a look. She was so sad. I'm sure she had been crying for days. This is something that a native speaker would say, right? So she was so sad, had been crying for days. Same thing. It's just not in one sentence, and it's not using when or by the time or before, but it's doing the same thing. So if you put this on the timeline, imagine it like this. She probably started crying here. I saw that she was sad here. This is obviously now. We're not going to concentrate on that. And this whole thing must have taken days, so that's the duration of time. Same thing, I'm just not putting it in one sentence. The person is saying it in two separate sentences, but the meaning is the same. Let's look at another example like this one. We can kind of erase that part so you guys can take a look at it better. All right. And it says, Sean had been doing research for years before he noticed the problem. Same thing. So if I put this on the timeline, Sean had been doing research. He started doing research for many years, and then he noticed the problem. Now, maybe in this sentence, him noticing the problem stopped him from doing the research, but maybe not. Maybe he just kept on doing that research. That doesn't matter, because what matters is that there are 2 points in the past. You started doing something, and then something else happened later that either stopped you or just kind of interfered and you kept going. It doesn't matter. And you have to mention that duration as well. Here's another sentence. By the time he got to the hospital, he had been bleeding for over an hour. So he started bleeding, let's say an hour ago. He was bleeding and he was bleeding and he was bleeding. He finally got to the hospital, and from the time he started bleeding to the time he got to the hospital was 1 hour, and that's how you have the sentence here, and it says by the time. This is past perfect continuous. It's really not that difficult. I strongly recommend you guys use it. If you're watching this video, please put up a couple of sentences in the comments so I can understand that you guys understood.